From 1965 to 1977, Srila Prabhupada traveled the world preaching, working tirelessly translating his books, while at the same time keeping in constant communication with his disciples through personal letters. It is through these letters that we are able to derive life lessons, material and spiritual, as well as appreciate Srila Prabhupada's loving care for his disciples. Let us now hear from one of those fortunate devotees who personally received correspondence from His Divine Grace.
I'm starting with a letter that was written in June of 1967, June 5th. Srila Prabhupada was in New York, and the background was of his illness, that he had left San Francisco, attempted to recover from whatever, a stroke, a heart attack. It was never kind of clear what it was. And then at a certain point, of course, he ended up going back to India. So at one point, while he was in New York, he had requested that the devotees gather in kirtan. So now there's a lot of what you call 24-hour kirtans going on. But the first such 24-hour kirtan occurred during the time of his illness in 1967, June. And the letter will speak for itself, but I'm going to read the name of the devotees. He addressed several devotees. And to me, it is just like the first chapter of the Bhagavatam, when they're listing all the names of the great generals and other devotees. Sometimes people say, why? What's so important about this? They don't want to bother with the first chapter. But Srila Prabhupada said it's very important because all of these people being mentioned are connected to Krishna. So it's not mundane people. These are Krishna devotees, one way or the other. And in this case, it is all devotees of Krishna. And the last name is a relative, an aunt for Janaki and Jamuna, who, although not a devotee, was greatly sympathetic, helpful, and she also chanted during this time. My dear Krishna Dasi, Subal Das, that was a married couple. Lilavati Dasi, Yamuna Dasi, Jayananda Das, Upendra Das, Malati Dasi, Guru Das, Shamsundar Das, Hari Das, Mukunda Das, Janaki Dasi, and Edna Powell. My dear boys and girls, I am so much obliged to you for your prayers to Krishna to save my life. Due to your sincere and ardent prayer, Krishna has saved my life. I was to die on Tuesday, certainly, but because you prayed sincerely, I am saved. Now I am improving gradually and becoming to original condition. Now I can hope to meet you again and chant with you. Hare Krishna. I'm so glad to receive the report of your progressive march, and I hope there will be no difficulty in your understanding Krishna consciousness. My blessings are always with you, and with confidence you go on with your chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thanking you once more, your ever well-wisher. And of course, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. At that time, Prabhupada had not been, we hadn't even heard of the name at that point. Next letter. My dear Malati, please accept my blessings. I thank you very much for your letter of May 14th, 1968, and I have noted your kind sentiments with appreciation. Don't wait for next life for finishing up the business of Krishna consciousness. Try to finish up this business in this life and pray to Krishna that if your Krishna conscious business is unfinished in this life, he may give you chance to take birth in a family where the father and mother are in Krishna consciousness. That is a great opportunity. Similarly, the child who is coming in your family is supposed to have executed Krishna consciousness in his previous life. So, of course, you can understand by that comment that I'm in my pregnancy. And then he gave some spiritual insight, and it had to do. I can't remember the exact question, to be honest, but in the absolute world, there is no distinction as me or he and I. Krishna and his representative is the same, just like Krishna can be present simultaneously in millions of places. Similarly, the spiritual master also can be present wherever the disciple wants. A spiritual master is the principle, not the body. Just like a television can be seen in thousands of places by the principle of relay monitoring. So I don't know how familiar you or anyone else may be with some letters that he had written to a friend of his in India, Narayan Swami Maharaj. And in that letter, he told him that for the first time he was seeing television. And guess who was on the television? It was the Pope. And so Prabhupada was commenting how thousands of people all over are sitting in the comfort of their own living room or their own home and viewing the Pope. So he was not glorifying television. He was, like anything, can be used in Krishna's service as long as it's for Krishna and not our own sense gratification. Then I reported to him about this girl that was coming to the temple in San Francisco. And she kept telling how she was seeing these spirits. So I was wondering about that. And Srila Prabhupada put that straight. This seeing of spirits has no connection with Krishna consciousness. It is a hallucination. In another situation where another girl was saying that every time she started chanting Hare Krishna, she started seeing things. And Prabhupada said, keep on chanting and it'll go away. So far, your young child is concerned. It hadn't been born yet. So far as your coming child is concerned, I shall give name to it when it's born. No, circumcision is not done in Vedic culture. It's not required. The funny thing was, I had no idea actually what circumcision, what it entailed. But I knew that when my younger brother, was born, they talked about it and he was circumcised, but I didn't know what it meant. But I was thinking, well, it seemed to be like an automatic thing in American hospitals, so I wanted it clear, and he cleared it up. No, it's not done in Vedic culture, so that I made sure that it was understood. If I had a boy, which I didn't, but if I had a boy, that would not happen. And then he gave an instruction. Yes, to make a Krishna conscious coloring book for children is a very good idea for serving and for spreading Krishna consciousness to young children. Please do it. I will give you hints how to do it. Just let me know when you are ready to begin. It will be a great service. Hoping you are well. And I'm embarrassed to be sitting here and telling you I never did that. It's one of those things that I still have to do because this is not, you will see in some other letters he's mentioned that. So it's definitely something that I have to get now that I'm not a GBC member and I don't have all that stuff, but still I have stuff, service related to GBC. And I'm thinking the time has to come soon because in August, if I even make it to August, I'll be 80. So what time is there to dilly-dally? And then what happened in April of 68, Shamsundar and I flew. For me, it was actually my first flight on a plane. So we flew from San Francisco to LA. It was in April. And on the way, I was bringing Kartamashan. If you're familiar with the form of Krishna, got his hand on his hip and got a flute in his other, but he's not holding the flute like this. It's stuck in his like in his waist. And I had this with me on the plane on my lap. And a stewardess came up and she told me I had to put it under my seat. And I looked at her like, what? And she goes, you'll have to put that under your seat because there was no room in the overheads. So I looked at her and I said, if you had a child and somebody told you to put your child under the seat, what would you do? This is my child, and I'm not putting my child under the seat. And she backed off. So I mentioned that in my letter to Srila Prabhupada, and he replied, the incident in connection with Krishna sitting on your lap is very interesting. I'm glad to learn that you have developed so much love for Krishna. This is the way of developing Krishna consciousness. And wherever you will be rigid in your Krishna consciousness, the triumph will be yours. So that was a very nice affirmation. Not, I could understand, especially as time went on, I'd not really developed love for Krishna, but I had some attachment, and definitely I wanted Krishna in my life. And in that same letter, hoping you are all well, your ever well wisher, P.S. I thank you very much for the beautiful picture of Krishna, which you have drawn and sent to me. Here it comes again. Please paint many such nice pictures of Krishna, and we shall use them in all our temples. Well, that also didn't happen. There were people much more effective in painting pictures of Krishna, but still he was giving me some attention in that regards. Now, this letter, I'm just reading it because it's really informative, and I'm part of the letter, but it's to Krishna Devi, and it's in August of 68. Regarding and we're already there in Montreal, regarding the child problem, I may inform you that all our children born in the Krishna consciousness parents, they are welcome. And I want hundreds of children like that, because in the future we expect to change the face of the whole world, because child is the father of man. Anyway, I have seen Malati is nursing her child so nicely that she attended my meeting every day and the child was quiet. She never cried. And similarly, Lilavati's child also never cries or disturbs the meeting. Lilavati is always present with her child. So it depends on the mother how to keep the child comfortable so it will not cry. So you can tell that obviously there was some agitation in that temple. She was there in that temple in New Mexico, and obviously there was some agitation about the presence of the child, but we can see from Prabhupada's reply to her that he was very observant and he was completely supportive of the mothers being there with their children and keeping them quiet. And when he said, I have seen Malati is nursing her child so nicely, I sat right in front of him and I had the baby, you know, she's like 5 weeks old at that point. So I put her, underneath my sari on the breast. And that way she was constantly, you know, suckling, and she did keep quiet. Then this letter. This letter was written when we were in London. We'd been there now. Let's see, the letter was November 15th, so October, September, a little over 2 months. And I was in a situation where there was a small baby. We were living in unusual situations here and there. Sometimes we weren't even living together. And at this time, we were in a warehouse. And in order to alleviate the time for others to be able to go out and look for a place, because that was our mission, to find a place, I was doing the cooking, which meant doing the shopping. And doing the laundry. And we didn't have our own laundry facility, which meant I would take the clothes to the laundromat. And that wasn't just for me and my husband, that was for everybody. So I had this little trolley on wheels. Same for the shopping, I'd bring that trolley on the wheels and fill it up. And I had a baby. So baby was tied to my front. But it was difficult. You still have a husband, and husbands, they require some attention, they require some care. And babies definitely require some attention and some care. So it was becoming a little difficult for me. And I wrote to Prabhupada, not in a complaining mood. I was trying to figure out what I should do. But I wrote him this letter, and from the answer, you'll understand the question I asked. I thank you very much for your nice letter of November 15th, 1968, and I have noted the contents with great satisfaction. Your humble sentiments are very nicely exposed herein, and your sincere desire to serve the Lord is the real perfection of life. You have asked, and here's the question, you have asked if I found it difficult to carry on devotional service when in my household life. And yes, I did. Now, he will then describe his difficulty, which wasn't at all like mine. In my household life, I was strictly following the regulative principles, but my wife was reluctant to assist me properly. Therefore, I was obliged to give up their company. You try to take care of Lord Jagannath as far as possible after doing your household duties. But you should be strict only in completing the 16 rounds of chanting. So pause here. The Jagannath, what he's referring to, are the first small deities of Jagannath that I had found. And from those small deities, Shamsundar had carved the larger deities. First for San Francisco, second for New York, third for LA, and then finally, London, when we got to London. So that was the fourth. He did these 4 sets. And so I had these little deities, and as I had mentioned, the other services. So he is saying, you try to take care of Lord Jagannath as far as possible after doing your household duties. So he didn't say to neglect Lord Jagannath, but he put a certain priority. And the priority was you should be strict only in completing 16 rounds of chanting. That will save you from all the discrepancies. As a householder, even if there are flaws in following the rules and regulations, it doesn't matter. You should try your best. And with Krishna's help, Krishna will help you. If you keep your heart in that attitude that you want to become a pure devotee and sincere devotee, you must be a sincere devotee, and Krishna will help you. You have to keep your heart in that way. That is your business. I hope you are well with your child. So I find that this was quite an effective and powerful letter. To this day, it still remains so. It's not something that is just locked in the past, because probably the most difficult thing any devotee has to do, bar none, is those 16 rounds strictly every day. If you're a parent, that is. So he put the perspective of what a married person with a child or children should do and what they should be strict in, and that was those 16 rounds. And then in London, January of 69, I get a letter. And you can tell a little bit from the letter, the back history. I'm in due receipt of your letter, undated. Prabhupada said that a man with, if you don't know the date, you're like a person without intelligence. And he similarly said something similar about undated letters, which anyway, somehow I sent an undated letter. So he said, I was very pleased to note the contents. regarding the Radha Shyam. So already we had, already for the first time, we were presented with this Radhe Shyam chanting, which you have heard. It is not very good. Should I repeat this? In our temple, strictly chanting Hare Krishna chanting should be given more importance. I should repeat that. In our temple, strictly Hare Krishna chanting should be given more importance. There is no harm in this mantra you have heard, but it is not very important. There are many such common songs composed by common devotees out of sentiment. But our principle is to stick to the authorities and always remember that Hare Krishna is the prime authorized mantra. So there had been, the letter's not over, he'll get back to this, so backstory to what I'm about. The second part of the letter, we had met some impersonalists and yoga people. And it was kind of like the first time that I consciously met an impersonalist. And they were saying all the things that Prabhupada said they'd say. All is one, there's no difference. I'm God, you're God, yada, yada. So Prabhupada said he was encouraged to learn that I was bold enough to challenge any non-devotee. And as I did with this impersonalist yoga student. So what it was, he was saying all those things, that everything, like the all is one, there is no difference, I'm God, you're God. And I said, well, if all is one, everything all is one, why don't you eat stool? And so I told that to Prabhupada. He quite liked it. And there's a letter to somebody else where he mentioned that, how I challenged like that and told him, why don't you eat stool? Anyway, that should be the temperament of all our preachers. We should not be aggressive, but we should not tolerate any sort of nonsense. One who says that God is not merciful because he has made one person happy and one distressed is most nonsensical. This very statement affirms that that man is a godless rascal. Nowadays, people get so uptight if you just make some kind of, mild hint that this impersonalism is not really favorable to devotional service, people get like uptight about it. But Prabhupada, this statement affirms that man as a godless rascal. And all of these so-called yogis are therefore rascals because they have no actual realization of God. Falsely, they think themselves as God, and their association should be avoided as far as possible. Underscore. And then he gets back to this lady from Vrindavan. And everybody called her Shama Mataji, but mostly they just called her Mataji. So we thought Mataji was her name, Mataji Dasi. And Prabhupada said, regarding this Shama Mataji Dasi from Vrindavan, does she sing Hare Krishna mantra or not? If she chants Hare Krishna, then it's all right. And if she does not chant the Hare Krishna mantra, you should ask her why she does not do so. I'm not familiar with her spiritual master, Gauranga Das, but if he has taught her to sing this Radha Sham song, so the song was Radhe Sham, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. That was it, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Radhe Sham, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. So if he's taught her to sing this Radha Shama song, then he also is not authorized. So keep that in mind. Prabhupada set standards. He had standards. It wasn't anything goes. And he gave those standards. He imbibed them in us. And we took them. We accepted them. And now my favorite letter, actually. It was on the 20th of February in 1969. And here's the first time he ever called us mothers. And the only time. My dear little mothers, Yamuna, Malati, and Janaki. Please accept my blessings. I lost my mother when I was only 14 years old. So I didn't get much of my mother's affection in my childhood. But in my old age, Krishna has given me so many young mothers to take care of me. Another mother, Govinda Dasi, is there in Hawaii. She's always asking me to go there, so I will go there within this month. But my one appeal is to my fathers and mothers, and then the rest of the letter is lost. But just this portion is so beautiful. Um, his affection towards us, we were always showered with his affection. And he was feeling our affection as well.
Wonderful. Well,
Um,
our time is up here, but I want to thank you very much for sharing all these letters. And I'm sure there are more, so maybe we can continue another day. But, you know, you've certainly added to the festival regarding the lessons from Srila Prabhupada through his letters. So
Haribol.
thank you very much. Hare Krishna.